with me in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, and welcome to this Community Corner episode of the MLTI podcast, Teaching with Tech. I'm your host, Jon Graham, and I'll be highlighting the Maine FIRST LEGO League Championship. Earlier this month, the Brewer Community School hosted the 24th annual Maine FIRST LEGO League Championship. 24 teams from around the state came together for this full-day event where they shared their innovation projects and robot designs with judges in the morning. In the afternoon, teams competed in robot performance in the gymnasium, with the top 8 teams competing in a just-for-fun playoff. The day ended with awards, which I will run down later in this episode. I was able to speak with Jamee Luce, who wears about as many hats around robotics and computer science as anyone. Jamie's the senior mentor for FIRST Robotics in Maine.
I'm also the coach of FIRST Robotics competition team 2648 Infinite Loop from Oakland, Maine.
She's also a computer science instructor at the Somerset Career and Technical Center in Skowhegan.
I am the fundraising chair on the Robotics Institute of Maine Board of Directors.
And I was able to visit Jamie's CS classes when she was teaching at Waterville Senior High School. So she's really one of the state's true champions of computer science and robotics.
I work with teams, students, educators from around the state on how they can get involved in competitive robotics in the best way for their schools, for their communities, for the resources that they have available. We were at the Maine State FIRST LEGO League Challenge Championship, where we had 26 teams competing in the masterpiece season. And the theme for this season was how art plays an important role in science, technology, engineering, and math, and how our experiences with art in all forms enhances our understanding of the technical world.
Just to provide a little bit of broader context, let's start with FIRST. Yes, I had to make that joke. This nonprofit's name is actually an acronym for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology, and was co-founded by the late Woody Flowers and inventor Dean Kamen in 1989. Kamen is best known for inventing the Segway, although I should mention he is not the person who died accidentally driving their Segway off a cliff.
The FIRST LEGO League Challenge program is for grades 4 through 8 in Maine. The season starts in August and typically runs through December to February, depending on when the state championship actually takes place. Teams are made up of somewhere between 4 and 12 students with several adult mentors and typically several high school student mentors.
Should interject that there are many configurations of teams just in Maine. Most are connected to a public school, some are an after-school club, and some are part of an actual class. There are also teams from private schools, learning co-ops, and 4-H clubs. These teams and their mentor or mentors build a robot that needs to complete missions on a competition field.
At the same time, they are encouraged to participate in the innovation project, which is when students can really dive into a problem-solving opportunity using the engineering process to think about and reflect on the world that they live in and what kind of problems could they solve if they had the resources, the time, the people, and the energy. And so the innovation project allows teams to do significant research, partner with local experts, and share what they've learned with their own community, as well as have an opportunity to work with an international group called the Global Innovation Award, should they choose to go on that path.
For myself and the other judges, the Innovation Project is the main focus of our work, and these projects can be quite varied. I've seen projects focused on more efficient carbon fiber shipping containers, transforming PFAS land into wind farms, and one of my favorites tackled how to effectively transport potatoes out of Aroostook County, since those spuds like to bounce out of the trucks.
First Lego League Challenge teams worldwide, many of them have actually received patents for the innovation challenge projects that they have created, which is really exciting. So when you have students with this opportunity to do research to solve a problem that they see in the world, and we see lots of incredible true innovations in places where typically we would not be successful because we just don't think in their kind of big picture world.
One of my favorite aspects of the FLL teams is the different grade levels coming in from different schools. You can have a completely new team who have never been to an event before. You can have a team with experienced 8th graders mixing with, and hopefully being good role models too, 6th and 7th, 8th graders. And you can have a mentor with plenty of experience and maybe an established team, but perhaps 5th graders who are experiencing the event and participating for the very first time.
And they come from all over the state, from all the way down at the New Hampshire border in Kittery and Berwick, all the way to down east in Lubec, and all the way to Fort Fairfield on our northern Canadian border, and everywhere in between. So there's really no restriction or requirement to be in a really high populated place, to have really fancy build resources. This experience can happen truly anywhere. And for those who participated in the CS Mobile Labs, the learning curve to get involved is not very steep. If you already are using your Lego Spike CS Mobile Labs in your classrooms, participating in First Lego League Challenge may provide you with a much better structure for how to use the CS Mobile Labs in your classroom, because the missions and the themes that come out of these yearly challenges are intended to be as an educational type experience.
While we are focusing on the first Lego League Challenge level, there is programming for all grade levels.
The First Lego League Challenge is for grades 4 to 8. We also have First Lego League Explore and Discover for our K to 3 students. And then our high school students can participate in one of two programs called First Tech Challenge if you're looking for a what we'll call a medium-sized robot, which is typically 18 by 18 by 18. It might weigh somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds. It plays on a field that is 12 feet by 12 feet. Very doable, very accessible for many, many, many schools around the state if you're looking for sort of the medium-sized high school experience. And the other program that we run in high school is what we would consider large size robots, which are 2 feet by 3 feet by 5 feet and typically weigh about 150 pounds. And they play on a big field, 26 by 57. And that program is called FIRST Robotics Competition.
For those of you looking to get out to an event, I would definitely recommend an FRC event. They're spectator friendly and the teams are even approachable in between matches. Small robots made out of Legos is one thing, but these big robots racing around, launching objects, and climbing on things is a whole other dimension of robotics competition.
Speaking of FIRST Robotics Competition, on Saturday and Sunday, March 16th and 17th, at the Colisée in Lewiston, we will be hosting the annual high school robotics competition and playing the game called Crescendo, which is a robotics game which has a theme of music and how music again impacts our STEM understanding. The event is free and open to the public, and anyone is welcome to come and enjoy the competition. You don't have to be on a team, you don't have to be associated with a school. If you have someone in your life who enjoys technology, who would love to watch robots driving around and participating in this game, we encourage you to come join us on either Saturday or Sunday. It's a great opportunity for classroom teachers to bring their students, and at the competition, you'll be able to talk directly to the high school students who have built these robots. You'll be able to walk through the pits which is where the students have their robots, their workstations set up similar to like a race car pit.
Being part of the Department of Education, I've been anxious to hear about the ways that the computer science mobile labs that were distributed to Maine schools last year are being utilized. When I spoke with Jamee at a robotics event a few months ago, she told me about an exciting development.
So we have 3 high schools participating this year in the Special Olympics Unified Robotics Team program, and they will be competing on Sunday just before the FIRST Robotics competition starts their playoffs. So that will happen somewhere around 1 or 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon.
Do you want to support young leaders in STEM or spend your weekend watching thrilling robotics competitions? Hi, we're students from Lewiston High School, FIRST Robotics Team, 8023, the Argonauts.
Soon, teams from 30 high schools around New England will be competing at the Pine Tree District event, each team vying for a spot in the district championship later this year.
You can join us the weekend of March 16 and 17 at the Lewiston Coliseum.
This event is free, family-friendly, and open to the public from 9 to 4 both days. Please come support us and the other 17 teams from Maine at the Pine Tree District event.
There we go. All right. We have reached the finals of our Justice Fund playoff here in Brewer, Maine. Now, I got this big audience in front of me, and I'm going to need a little bit of help counting this down. We're going live.
While it was my third FLL Championship event to attend, serving as a judge, I was excited to bring along 2 of my colleagues, MLTI ambassadors Joshua Schmidt and Geoff Ireland.
I had heard about the LEGO League before this event, but I had never done any volunteering before, and it seemed like a great opportunity to see the work in action and see why so many people talk about this being a valuable experience for both kids, parents, staff, the community, everybody.
It was such a great group of people. It was very well organized, and it was so cool to see so many middle schoolers happy to be at a school on a Saturday morning. I was asked if I would volunteer to judge. My first response was that I had never been involved with robotics, let alone a state championship level robotics competition. I was assured that this was not only okay, but it would be somewhat advantageous. When I arrived, there was a judges meeting. I met my fellow judges, and they were experienced and could walk me through any more questions that I had.
I was blown away. The morning was focused on kind of the learning the students had experienced by working with these robots and building them. They talked about the code they had designed. They talked about projects that they had made and how those projects impacted their community at large. But it felt like a large portion of the conversation was focused on their learning and how that learning was important and impactful.
While it is a competition and the kids take it seriously, it's a relaxed and supportive environment. I plan to volunteer again next year. The kids presented in groups of 5 to 10, and they presented 2 different things to us, an innovation project and a robot. The innovation project included defining a problem that they encountered in the community and their plan and work to help solve that problem. What was neat to me was to see how hard they worked to overcome some pretty incredible obstacles, and they really learned a lot from that.
However, all of a sudden after lunch, it shifted to this spectator fueled event where the kids were taking their robots and actually implementing the things they had talked about from the morning. I loved seeing that connection where instead of just talking about their work, they had the opportunity to talk and present what they had done. And then the afternoon was so focused on implementation. The gym was electric during this entire experience. And so the kids were trying to earn as many points as they possibly could by doing different challenges on the board.
So if you're considering volunteering, I highly recommend it. It was an experience I won't forget, and I plan to do it again next year.
If you've never seen an event like this before, I would highly recommend checking it out. It was so much fun the entire day, and it's definitely something that I would love to work with and assist with in the future.
Put that first experience down, and that's going to do it. That's the points they're looking for. Squads at the con and realigning the skyscraper with 1:22 to go.
I also spoke with Geoff Cyr, who is responsible for, among many aspects of this event, recruiting volunteers. Geoff, like so many of the people involved in FIRST, see the planning, organizing, and implementation of this event as a passion project.
I'm Geoff Cyr. I teach computer science and technology grades K through 4 at 2 elementary schools in the SAD 52 district. That's Turner, Leeds, and Green. In addition to my day job, I also have been a coach and volunteer with FIRST for 10 years now. 8 of those years, I have been a coach. I have experience organizing qualifier tournaments at FIRST LEGO League. I've been on the state planning committee for the tournament for, I think, 6 years now. I've been the volunteer coordinator for 4 years. I helped design the scoring system. I've just been involved in FIRST Robotics for a really long time. It's one of my professional passion projects that I got involved in really early.
As he mentioned, Geoff is a coach, and I always enjoy seeing him put on the hat of coach. A little spoiler alert for those waiting for the results of the day. Geoff's team from Leeds Central School won the Innovation Project Award.
I think a lot of coaches will tell you that the Innovation Project is the hardest part of this because the kids want to do robots all the time. And research and the work that goes into a successful innovation project can sometimes be a slog. It's not always fun, and it can be really hard to get kids to buy in. I want the kids to follow something they're passionate about. So even if it's one of those things where it's not necessarily the most relevant to our season's theme, and I was kind of worried about that with my team this year. And I was really surprised. This was probably the fastest I've had a team get excited about the innovation project because we found something that united them, that excited all of them, something they could buy into and something that they could actually do. So they got really excited early on about creating a Lego free library. We actually have a little free library right outside the front entrance to our school. And so the kids were aware of that and they started thinking about what a Lego version of that might be. Spent a lot of time trying to figure out where it's going to go, who you need to get permission from, where you're going to get a cabinet of some sort, what's going to go in it, how do you maintain it and keep it fresh and relevant, how do you communicate it. Those are just things that they really bought into early on. And I think when they went to do their presentation, it really showed that they were committed to it. It's not done yet, but they want to finish it. So I'm sure we'll be scheduling some follow-up sessions, even though the season is done for us, so we can get that done. The kids are very proud of it. And I'm excited for the moment when we can unveil it at the Turner Public Library, hopefully within the next month or two. One of the coolest parts, I think, about doing an innovation project like this or doing something that's really local is the fact that the kids can get in touch with people. I think there's a lot of critical life lesson things that happen in the course of not just the robotics, obviously, but through the innovation project and through the core values too. I am a coach and it's nice to be successful, but I'm an educator first. So when this program can become a vehicle for things that I want kids to be learning, I think it becomes extra valuable in the education of these kids.
The first LEGO League competition cannot happen without volunteers. And while I was only able to bring in 3 this year, I hope hearing from my teammates and Geoff might convince others that it is worth giving up one Saturday.
The main thing that we look for volunteers is for judging and refereeing. Judging is where the kids have a 30-minute session. They present their research project. They present their robot design. They talk about how they utilize core values throughout the season. And so you need judges to facilitate those sessions, score those sessions, encourage kids. Remember, we're talking about 9 and 10-year-olds in some cases. And so just giving a warm smile that can really help these kids get through one of the toughest things they've ever done. We look for some other roles too. We look for cuers. We look for people that just sort of roam and see if any teams need guidance on where to go. But judging is the main one. And then the afternoon is referees, scorekeepers, somebody to run the timer. We need people to queue up teams. We need people to reset the fields after matches. Another thing too is our planning committee. We start meeting almost as soon as the challenge is unveiled in August. And we start to figure out where are we going to hold the event? What are some things we might need to buy, or what are some things that we might need to do to get ready? We talk about t-shirts, and we talk about event logistics, and we talk about volunteers. It takes a group of people to put that together, and we definitely need more folks to help us with getting these events off the ground, recruiting volunteers, supporting teams, and getting in the competitions. So if you're hearing this and any of this sounds interesting to you, please step up, volunteer. If you're interested in starting a team, I think we're really motivated to get new teams off the ground, and something that we want to expand access to around the state.
If you've heard references to the CS Mobile Labs and you're not sure what those are, now is probably a good time for me to explain. In September 2022, Governor Janet Mills allocated funds from the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund to provide computer science technology for all public schools in Maine, and subsequent training for interested educators. The two most popular options for schools were Lego Spike Prime and Lego Prime Essentials. Geoff was one of the many educators across the state who took part in the training that the Maine DOE coordinated. He's also one of the people who recognize how this distribution of Lego kits could open doors for programs like FIRST.
When the CS Mobile Labs started rolling out, because we kind of felt like this was a real opportunity for us to get more teams involved, more schools involved, because equipment's expensive and you definitely need some equipment to get started. The two biggest things that are obstacles to starting a FIRST Lego League team is A, having the people to do it, and B, having the equipment. So having the mobile labs is really critical because it makes it that much easier. You know, if you had somebody that was potentially interested in doing something like this, but couldn't find money in a budget somewhere to pay for the equipment, it's definitely helpful. So at one point, my teams were using like 5 different Spike Prime kits, and we broke up into 3 smaller groups, and they each had their own robot with a similar jive base, and they were programming, and that way they were able to test their own equipment, their own attachments, their own programming for their part of the match. Having more than one set is really helpful in that regard. We're also looking to expand FIRST Lego League Explorer, which is the program that runs 1st through 4th grade. They use the Spike Essential sets. And so that was another choice in the CS Mobile Lab portfolio. And that's not a program that has really taken off in the state. So we really want to try to get this program off the ground as well. So the kids might have that spark for it really early on. And then hopefully we're guiding them through their school years so that there's a program for them at every turn. We've talked about that in my district about building the pipeline. We have the FIRST Lego League program at Leeds Central School. And then when they go to Tripp Middle School in 7th grade, they have the possibility of doing VEX. And that carries all the way through the Levitt and graduation. And the Lewiston Tech Center has a FIRST Robotics competition team. And so that's another possibility for those kids who are on a CTE track. We're going to start here, but when you leave, there's something else. Like you can go all the way through your schooling career and have access to this kind of really hands-on engaging programming. So I think the mobile lab stuff will be a crucial investment in some of that statewide. And now the work really is about finding the people to do it.
As promised, I will give a rundown of the award winners for the day. So the top award, the Champions Award, went to the Fellowship representing Cobscook Currents 4-H Club out of Washington County. And this team will now have the opportunity to represent the state at the FIRST Lego League World Festival Houston this year. The Champions Finalist Award went to the Squires of Katahdin from Wilton, Maine. The Robot Performance Award went to the Robo Sharks from the Shapley School in Kittery, who, if you're keeping score, had the longest commute of the day. Their robot had the highest score in 2 rounds of table exercises with 265. The Core Values Award went to the Master Builders, and the Core Values Finalist Award went to the Bad Piggies, both of them from Spruce Mountain Junior High School. The Innovation Award went to the Screaming Legoats from Leeds Central School. We talked about their Lego Free Library project earlier. The Innovation Project Finalist Award went to the Fort Fairfield Robo Tigers, who had designed a special newsletter that will celebrate visual performing arts endeavors at their school. The Robot Design Award went to the Mustang Masterpieces from the C.K. Burns School in Saco. And the Robot Design Finalist Award went to Noble Superflex from MSAD 60's Flex program. The Coach Mentor Award went to Brian Mann from the Gardner Iron Tiger Cubs. And then the day concluded with the top teams competing in a Just for Fun playoff, which was won by Noble Superflex, who edged out the Squires of Katahdin by a score of 230 to 210. The Squires, however, it should be mentioned, in the previous round had scored 295, which actually was the highest point performance during the day. So an exciting playoff to end the day, and a fun time was had by all. Wrapping up this Community Corner episode, I do need to offer my sincerest thank you to the FIRST LEGO League Challenge community who awarded me the Outstanding Volunteer Award, which comes with a fantastic trophy made from Legos if you've never seen one. I also want to thank MLTI ambassadors Joshua Schmidt and Jeff Ireland for volunteering at the event and providing support for this episode. Joshua has been a driving force behind the podcast this season and convinced me to finally give it a try myself. I'd also like to thank Tracy Williamson, our editing wizard behind the curtain. And lastly, I want to thank Jamee Luce and Geoff Cyr, who organized some amazing events on top of being full-time teachers. If you'd like to get involved with robotics in Maine, I would steer you toward the Robotics Institute of Maine website, rimaine.org, to learn about not only FIRST LEGO League, but also FRC at the high school level, and Vex Robotics, which has their middle school and high school championship coming up on March 8th and 9th in South Portland. If you'd like to contact us, you can reach myself and my team at doe-ltt@maine.gov. Now, I knew that ending each episode with a joke or pun was the norm, and thankfully this one was actually shared with me by the member of the All Systems Go team from Gorham Middle School. Why was the robot tired when he got home from work? Because he had a hard drive. Class dismissed.